Experience is process. It's continually unfolding, moment to moment. And how do we, as humans, process the process of experience? We use our senses, right? And our senses send messages to the brain, and this results in sensation, in feeling. So you've got a feedback loop going on between external phenomena, senses, body, brain, mind, body, brain, mind. And I'm very interested in intervening in this feedback loop. How we can maybe influence the mind through examining sensation, through tracking sensation, because this is the most reliable way to stay present. So, how can we stay present with sensation and really nourish ourselves in the process? And one way is to interrogate sensation as it's occurring in the body. That's a very good thing to do, and then hopefully some of the more negative feelings will dissolve. But I'm also interested in another way, which is to realign our experience, realign sensation. Maybe emphasize some sensations over others in the hope that they may be able to influence what's going on up here. So I thought I'd separate out what makes us feel really, really good and what makes us feel not so good. So I asked my 9-year-old son, it's always good to ask a child, Abe, what would you say would make most people feel really, really great? And he said, well, if I climbed to the top of a mountain, I'd feel pretty good. It's true. You get to the top of the mountain after a long climb, your muscles are aching, you feel tired but a sense of elation. You see the view, the magnificent view spread out before you, you inhale the fresh air, and you have a real sense of achievement. It's actually a very, very sensory experience, very fulfilling. And then I said to him, what would make most people feel really quite bad? And he thought for a minute, and he said, with a bit of a cheeky look in his eye, he said, if someone farted in a small space, that would be pretty bad. That's true again, right? You just feel really cramped and enclosed and you really want to get away from that foul smell and you feel hatred to whoever has inflicted this disgusting, vile thing on you. So actually, that's two very, very good answers there. And unfortunately, most of us, I think, most of the time, notice the farts in the lift more than we do the flowers on the mountain. And actually, I'm not talking about huge mountains like Mount Everest, but just the little hills and journeys we go on in everyday life, the little humps and bumps that we're continually traversing as we go. And then one example of that is, if somebody gives you an appraisal at work, say, and they'll say 88 fantastic things about you, but maybe 1 or 2 minor criticisms, or you could have done this a little bit better, or there's a bit of room for improvement here. You will probably immediately feel bad in yourself and latch on to the negative and go away feeling a bit despondent, even though that's really quite an unbalanced view. Or, you get up for work, it's raining, the tube is late, you get on, it's really crowded, you just notice how uncomfortable you are, you get to work, you're late, you haven't had any exercise, you feel down, you don't bother to take a lunch break, you get home late, you've not been able to see your kids, and then you end up washing up at 11:30 at night. So we just kind of get locked in these negative thought patterns, which are not really very nourishing for us, and if they're taken to an extreme, they result in breakdown. And neuropsychologist Rick Hanson has got a theory about this. He says that the negative things in life, the negative sensations, experiences we have, tend to stick to us like Velcro, and the positive ones tend to slip off us like Teflon. And there's a good evolutionary reason for this, actually, in that when we were primitive hunter-gatherers living in small groups, we really had to take notice of the dangers. So, for example, a rustling in the leaves to signal a predator would mean you better get out of that place fast, you better skedaddle, because otherwise a huge lion or tiger is going to bear down on you and eat you. Similarly, you would really, really remember the look and smell of the berries that killed your neighbour, because it's all about survival. Now, of course, we don't really have to worry about survival so much in our modern world. But evolution has had thousands and thousands and thousands of years coming up with this incredible brain, and less time to adapt to our busy modern lives with different kinds of stresses. So you might think, oh, this is a bit depressing, and what can I do about it? The good news is there is a phenomenon called neuroplasticity, and a lot of people are doing a lot of work on this or looking into it at the moment. And what neuroplasticity says is that actually if you can affect changes in the brain through your behaviour or through your attitude to sensations. And Rick Hanson in particular has placed a lot of emphasis upon savouring the positive moments in life, the things that make us feel good. So, for example, that morning when you were late, if you'd actually taken time when you were having your shower to really feel the water on your skin, really soak it in so it's in your sort of cellular level, really inhale the aroma from the soap, feel the pressure, feel maybe how lucky you were to have a shower. And when you got on that tube, you saw a little baby and you had a little interaction with the baby. You know, contact with others can often make us feel really good. You go away smiling. You really, really enjoy the cup of coffee you have on the way to work. These are really tiny little moments, and all I'm talking about is a few extra seconds. But if we really savour these, we actually find that they start affecting the neural structure in our brain. And what happens is the brain starts producing new synapses, new connections, which then affect parts of the brain like the hippocampus and the insula, make them larger, and they're responsible for things like decision making, memory, spatial orientation, emotional intelligence. And areas like the amygdala are responsible for aggression, that fight or flight response that we had back in the Stone Age, that decreases hugely. And there's also much more activity in the left prefrontal cortex of the brain as opposed to the right, which is associated with feelings of positiveness. So you can see how a small realignment in the way we use sensation, pay attention to sensation and the present moment, can really have huge implications on our brains and in turn on our mindset to help get us out of those negative spirals that we want to get into. And I think Rick Hanson has a really nice way of putting this. He says we are using our minds to change our brain, to change our minds.